What's up, guys? I wanted to get back on here because earlier I didn't take any questions. I was just more making statements. So I wanted to just come back on and see if you guys had questions. I saw some of them that were being fired off as I was on my rant earlier. So if you guys, hi, what's up? Go ahead and hit me with any of the questions you have. I wasn't able to do that earlier, so I wanted to make sure that I came back on here and answered. What's up, Cindy? You know, it's just, girl, I'm just out here living the dream. You know how it is. I actually feel a little bit out of it because I just had my like body miracle guy come over and do some magic on my back, and I feel a little bit just coming back into my body. But you guys, I saw some questions pop up earlier. So if you would like to ask me something, you can do that here. And also, I just want to say to everyone who has direct messaged me over the last few days, I just want to say thank you for all those messages. You guys are so awesome. Not only does my audience ask me things, personal things, relative, that maybe they're a little bit too embarrassed to ask publicly, but you guys are just so rad. You guys always take the time to reach out and say such beautiful things to me, and I just wanted to say thank you. I'm like the person that will always see someone post something awesome, but I never take the time to write anything to them. So I always like, when people do that with me, it really actually touches me. I'm like, wow, that's maybe I need to take a note from a page from their book. So if you guys have questions that you want to fire off, I just wanted to set aside some time to get to those. So go ahead and hit me with them. And it can be anything. I mean, it can be lifestyle, it can be mindset, it can be diet, it can be training. It seems that recently on my live streams I've been, I think just because of the majority of the stuff that I'm seeing right now just happening kind of in the fitness space, I've been focused less on training tips, because it seems like most of the problems that people are having, even with their weight, is not relative to even what they're doing at the gym. A lot of it just has to do with not being able to manage negative mindsets. So, all right, Molly, that's a great question. What do you think of the concept of balance? Funny enough, I just wrote an article on this. It's kind of a broad question, but I'll tell you what I was writing about is that here's what I find. Here's, I think, one of the biggest issues that people have, particularly relative to weight loss, is, okay, our bodies, in order for our bodies to operate, hold on, let me tune out all distractions for a moment, if you will. Okay, there. I have light hitting me from all angles, although it's making me look quite angelic here. It's a little bit distracting. I've got it coming this way and this way. So what do I think about balance? Well, it's interesting that you should ask that, because I was just writing an article the other day about how our bodies are designed to be lean and healthy and energetic. And we are also designed to be able to deal with stressful situations. We're designed to sleep an adequate number of hours a night. We're designed to process our problems without medication and sleep without medication. And relative to weight, I think one of the biggest lies that the public has bought into is the fact that while our body is designed to be at homeostasis, like if your body is operating just on the levels that it's designed to operate on, you will never have a weight issue in your life. Because if you're putting everything in your body, if you're only putting stuff in your body that your body can actually recognize and process, meaning stuff that's free of chemicals, you're eating pastured organic meats, and pastured and organic meats and eggs are the only way to guarantee that your meat has not been treated with antibiotics and hormones. I've been preaching these things for years, and particularly I think people are getting more hip to this now. But here's the thing, guys. Balance is about putting the stuff that's going in your body is not causing a strain or a chaotic situation for your body. When you eat meat, let me just use that example. When you eat meat, or let's say a vegetable that has pesticides on it, when that thing enters your system, your body has a big problem, and it has a bunch of choices that it now has to make. That if those things weren't present in your food, it would just be able to break down the food, receive the nutrients, and metabolize. When stuff sneaks into your system via food that doesn't belong, your body becomes desperate to get it out of your system. And so your liver has to now go in and try and grab all the toxins. Your pancreas, if it's something that affects your blood sugar and it spikes blood sugar, your pancreas now has to go, oh my gosh, we've got to release insulin. Your body becomes desperate to bring itself back into balance. And so one of the things that I find is one of the biggest kind of deceptive methodologies that's being preached right now is, if our body is designed for balance, okay, people will pay attention. We are very, very, very aware, I would say, of what we're putting in our body. Most people, when they want to, get lean, they'll be like, okay, I need to start eating organic meats. I need to, make sure I'm rinsing my vegetables and eating organic vegetables. I need to cut all the processed crap out of my diet. They do things to bring their internal health into balance, but then they go to the gym, and with their training, they put their body through war. Not only that, but then they eliminate things that are bad for their body, but then they go and do something super unbalanced, like cutting out carbohydrates from their diet. And so many people struggle to lose weight simply because they're not doing things that are balanced for their body. When you do things that are like completely out of pocket, where you're cutting out entire macronutrients, where you're going and killing yourself with exercise every single day. You want to know what woman has the hardest time losing weight that I see? The chick that's at SoulCycle 7 days a week killing herself, because you know what she does after SoulCycle? Because she hasn't given her body a day off since like 1992. I watch her at the one on Sunset. I watch her walk across to Earth Bar and hoof down one of those massive acai bowls, which has like 120 grams of sugar. Why? Because her body is so desperate for a break. Her glycogen is so depleted. It's like her body's in a constant starvation, like, give me sugar, give me carbs. And it's because there's no balance. When you're exercising even 3 days a week, you're exercising hard, but you're not at the gym for 2 hours. When you're not, if you are overtraining, your hormones responsible for fat burning and lean muscle get suppressed. And so often though, and this is why I've taken such issue with certain things recently, because I'm just so tired of people who have a voice in fitness coming on their social media platforms and telling you guys, oh, it's about cutting out carbs, or, oh, it's about fasting one day and then like overeating the next, and it's about this. No, it's you. If you want to never have a weight issue again a day in your life, stop overtraining. Stop obsessing about calories and carbs, and start eating 5 times a day balanced meals that don't eat non-organic meats, don't eat processed carbs, which means things that have been basically remixed by like anything made from a flour, even if it's gluten-free, because things that have been processed and are made from flour, whether it's gluten-free or not, it spikes your blood sugar. Okay, and so a good way, carbs are not the enemy, processed carbs are the enemy, and the only exception to that rule is if you have someone who's training really, really hard, and then post-workout it is good to eat something that's high glycemic, because you need to replace your glycogen. Again, your body is designed for balance. So if you go in and you have a super crazy workout, by just allowing your glycogen levels to come back up to normal, you actually allow those hormones responsible for fat burning and lean muscle to also come up. The problem is when we get locked in and you listen to somebody who has a good body on Instagram tell you that the key to weight loss and the key to being lean is just cutting out carbs. Now, let me tell you something. To each their own. There are things that work for, I can eat more carbs than the average person and not gain weight, but that doesn't mean that is going to work for you. Everybody has differences in their genetic predispositions. So for that reason, my entire career, I have based every single methodology I have ever preached on balance, because your body is designed to be healthy. It's designed to be lean. Your body doesn't want to be overweight, not even by a couple of percent, because it takes it out of homeostasis. Even 5 to 10 extra pounds, that adds weight onto your joints. Your joints, if you think about the way that your body's designed, just from that standpoint, cartilage has a shelf life. Once it's gone, it's gone. Okay, so when we carry around an extra even 10 pounds over the course of a year, do you know how much more wear and tear that puts on your joints? So it's from that standpoint of really taking 10 steps back, and you stop focusing on just weight loss. And when you really step back and go, okay, I want to understand my body. How does my body actually work? And by the way, what does my body want? Oh, my body wants to be lean? Okay, then what do I need to fuel my body with to be at optimal levels? I don't know a single woman who can cut carbs completely out of her diet and still be sane. I've never seen it. Guys, I have. Women lose their mizzle. And the only exception to that rule is if you're a person who has, let me back up. There are health benefits to keto dieting. The problem, but the problem is that keto dieting should not be used as a means to an end for weight loss. When you have a person who is diabetic, when you have someone who has a ton of inflammation in their body, when you have somebody who is constantly sick, I guarantee you that person, 99% of the time, if I look at their diet, the sources of carbohydrates that they're eating are not complex carbs that have been untouched by man. They've been putting things in their body that are sending their blood sugar like this. And so so I have a really good friend, and she has diabetes, and she looks insanely healthy, like you would never even know. And I just hooked her up with I'm hooking her up with my friend Thomas DeLauer, who's like the keto expert, who actually schooled me the other day and was like, Ashley, you realize all these fitness people are going around and they're like, keto this, keto that. But actual keto is eating 7% protein and 93% fat. So the reason I say this is all the way full circle back to balance. If you don't have to cut carbs out of your diet, if you don't have to go to extreme measures, why would you? That is how I've been able to build a career helping people change their bodies and keep their body looking a certain way all the time. If you see me at a fitness expo, let me tell you something. I'm gonna look the same every year, and it doesn't matter what time of year I'm there. Do you wanna know why? Because my weight doesn't fluctuate and go all over the map. One of the most horrifying and shocking things to me was the first time I went to a fitness expo, and to look at all the people on the covers of the magazines, and I'm just keeping it real with you guys because I feel like it's okay to say, because I find it to be like almost fraud. They look like a red hot bloated mess. Like they had been binge drinking like for months. And I say this because I don't believe, from the time I was young, even in college, my strength and conditioning coaches at USC, if I looked at my strength and conditioning coach and they had a weight problem or they couldn't keep their stuff under control, they weren't a representation of what I wanted, I'm not gonna listen to you because you can't even keep your own weight under control. If you can't stay consistent, why would I listen to you telling me to stay consistent? You clearly don't have the answer for me. And so I say that because so often I watch these fitness experts come on and they hop on every bandwagon that's popular, and they lead you guys to hop on those bandwagons. But if you actually see them in real life, or if their photos weren't photoshopped, you would see that they're not consistent with their weight. Not even they can make it to the gym. Not even they can, find balance in their own life. So that's why I speak out, especially recently, so vehemently just about some of these things, because it's like, I wish we could just hold a microscope up to what's really happening behind closed doors, so that you guys could understand that the one thing that will never, ever, ever, ever lead you into a bad place with your body is if you are exercising consistently 4 days a week. If you are going hard in the paint during that exercise, but you're not exceeding an hour of actual exercise. If you're eating clean foods every 3 hours, if you've cut chemically processed foods from your diet, if you aren't using anything with artificial ingredients or sweeteners in it, if you're eating organic pastured meats, and if you're eating balanced meals. Okay, so people ask me often like what I eat on a daily basis. I eat literally like pretty much the same portion sizes all the time, unless I want something more. If I'm actually craving something, I allowed myself to eat a massive thing of Cold Stones the other day because I wanted it. I didn't feel very good afterwards because I am lactose intolerant. It felt like I ate a brick. But I'll tell you something, for those 10 minutes, I was in absolute bliss. And then I paid for it. My stomach hurt really bad because of the lactose. But you know what? I didn't shame spiral about it. I let it go because I really wanted it. And again, I didn't do it the next day and the next day and the next day. But in that moment, I really wanted something and I allowed myself to have it. And then I didn't follow up with a negative mindset of shaming myself. And while I was eating it, I was enjoying every freaking bite of that thing. That's what balance is, you guys. Balance is not about depriving yourself, because when you come from a mindset of food being the enemy, and if I eat this, it's going to make me fat, you will always desire things that you don't want. It's like, I'll give you an example. A lot of my girlfriends, I find that they find themselves, okay, I shouldn't say a lot, that's a blanket statement. A lot of women, when they date guys, it's like they know they have to marry the good guy, but they want the bad boy. They want the thing that they know is forbidden and isn't necessarily good for them. And the more they think about that thing, the more they want that thing. The more they tell themselves they can't have that thing, the more they want it. And this is human nature. From the time I was very, very, very young, the word no was not something I liked to hear. And if someone told me no about something, I wanted to know why. And if you couldn't explain why to me, all I was going to do is obsess about having that thing that I was just being denied. And so when I came into this space of training and health, it was shocking to me the mindsets that people have and that they've taken on, because popular magazines, popular diets, experts have been preaching for years that the key to having a good body is deprivation and excessive exercise and freaking measuring things and pre-weighing them and meal prepping on Sundays. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I've never meal prepped for myself a day in my freaking life. I don't know what I want to eat until I'm hungry. And because I am such a disciplined person, food is something I actually do enjoy. And if ever I took that thing away from myself and I put tons of constraints around it, I would be the most miserable person on earth. And I would also want, like, if I told myself I could never have, that was my last ice cream for 2 months. You know what I'm going to obsess about all day, every day? Ice cream. When you start looking at food as not the enemy, but just educating yourself, if you actually, like when I ate that Cold Stones, and I'm going to land this plane in a second, but I want to explain this because your mindset about food, it can be life-changing if you can actually receive what I'm about to say to you. The reason I don't desire Cold Stones every single day and I don't want ice cream every single day is because I know what it's doing inside my body when I have it. Even if I wasn't lactose intolerant, I know what it's doing to my pancreas. I know what it's doing to my system. It's creating chaos. And for me and my life is chaotic enough. I want to wake up every day feeling like a freaking champion. And in order to do that, I need to honor myself. And that's how I look at food. In order to honor myself and to honor my purpose and to honor you guys and to be able to come on here and be clear-headed and to be able to spend my quiet moments allowing myself to be in prayer with God and allow myself to be inspired and to have profound thoughts and things that I can share with the world, I need to be clear-headed. My cells need to be healthy. I cannot be ruled and dominated by food and blood sugar fluctuations and obsessions about calories and obsessions about how I look and obsessions about weight loss. I need to look at food as something that is a choice that I make as to how much I'm going to honor myself within that meal, within that snack, within that day. And the biggest issue that most people have is people who go into dieting, who are punishing themselves to start, who you stand in front of the mirror and you're shaming yourself, you're pinching your rolls, you're looking at yourself, and I already know what you're saying to yourself, because you know what? When I was 180 pounds, guys, I was saying the same things. And I'm just gonna go ahead, if you're not a person who likes cuss words, I want you to put your earmuffs on, but I remember I used to even just driving in my car, I'd hit a bump and my stomach would jiggle and I'd be like, you fat piece of shit. I couldn't help it. I was constantly being reminded of I was disgusted with myself. So then when you go into diet and you start depriving yourself, when you're already punishing yourself. And now you're acting and your behavior, that negative behavior is carrying on. You're trying to be healthy, but you're doing it by still punishing yourself. Through obsessing about calories, depriving yourself of everything, and shaming yourself into starving yourself out. And then going to the gym and actually expecting your body to not rebel against you, like your body's gonna actually show up for you. If you it's like the biggest, and I mean, in my 20s, I was way more vain than I am now. And do you want to know something? My weight fluctuated a lot more in my 20s than it does now. It was like, there's something about the last 5, and I'm saying this because I want to encourage you guys. This isn't about me, but, probably the last 5 years of my life, I've experienced more warfare, more battles, more WTF moments, more betrayal, more effed up stuff than I ever did in my 20s. That was like child's play. And you know what came from that? Valuing. What happened was I realized that it doesn't matter what my weight is. My gift, what makes me special and what my value is that I can get on here and I can say these things to you. And it doesn't matter if I'm in a wheelchair. As long as I've got this and this, it's confusing. See, right? You got to be able to laugh at yourself. I'm a powerful person. And when I came to that and I realized, like, I don't need to obsess about my body. That's actually a distraction. I need to start honoring the person who can show up for battles and the person who can inspire people even though I'm going through something. And I need to view food from that standpoint. And when I put that Cold Stones in my body, I was fully aware this is not honoring myself, but this is balance because I want it. And I know I'm not going to feel good afterwards, but I'm not going to spin out about it. But I already know that the dairy that they're using in this ice cream isn't good for me. It's not sourced from organic pastured cows. And so because of that, I'm not going to revisit it the next day, because if I was to revisit it, that's just me destroying myself. And it's a situation for, hold on guys, I just want to turn off this music, hold on. I say this to you guys because the original question was, like, what are your thoughts on balance? And that is balance. If you begin viewing food as the vehicle for your greatness, the thing that can take you, like, I can tell I'm so in tune with my body, and that's not to brag, it's because I choose to be. When you decide to be in tune with yourself, when you make the decision that honoring yourself and staying in touch with yourself 24/7 is more important than your social media, it's more important than hitting like, it's more important than watching TV, it's more important than even a workout. It's like, so often people are so freaking exhausted and their cortisol is so flooded through their body that they can't lose weight, but they're so out of touch with themselves that they still go to the gym and kill themselves. And it saddens me, but there's a solution to it. And often I watch people hop on these bandwagons, cut things out of their diet, go into these insane workouts, and it never occurs to them, this workout is hurting my knee. I remember the first time I went to a CrossFit class. I'd never been. My friends for about 2 years were like, you're hardcore, you gotta come do CrossFit. Like, they were like begging me. Like, everybody I ran into, CrossFit. So finally I went into a CrossFit class. I took one look around, I'm like, I'm not doing this. This is a bunch of BS, man. I'm not. And the instructor was like, excuse me? My friends were like, excuse me? I said, to have somebody go into heavy lifts like that, and I didn't see you instruct anybody before they did that. You didn't even do a proper warm-up. And you're having people go into heavy squats and deadlifts? That's not honoring people's bodies. I'm not doing that. I'm trying to be able to walk up out of here. I got things to do, homie. And guess what? During that class, I watched 3 people drop. They literally collapsed under the weight of the bar as the people around them were like, more weight, yeah. And so I say that because, in watching that, there's such a mob mentality that we have. And if you're checking in with yourself and you're honoring yourself and you're thinking of yourself as not just the person that's standing in front of you in the mirror, but everything that glares back at you in the mirror is a direct reflection of what it starts here. People who overeat aren't overeating because they're weak people. They're overeating because they're trying to medicate themselves, because they're trying to get their body to release dopamine, because they are in pain. They're in pain. It's a drug. People who go to the gym and excessively exercise, and I can almost watch them. And I know some people actually in the fitness industry that have such demons from their past that they're so afraid to confront, that they go to the gym instead and they listen to angry music, and they think that if they punish themselves just enough, that at least temporarily after that workout, they're not going to be thinking about those painful things. They're not going to have to confront it. And they think that if they build enough muscle on their body, or they build enough strength, that somehow that will make them strong, because on the inside they know that they're extremely weak, and it's because they're being haunted by something from their past. And so I say this because, in my 20s, especially being like in the celebrity training game, and once I was published in magazines, and like, full transparency, I was not prepared. Because what was handed to me at like 24 years old with my career, it was like handing a toddler a machine gun. It was an impossible thought for me to get so immersed in that world where you're flying around in private jets with celebrities. You're like on yachts in St. Bart's with freaking P. Diddy. And there isn't a piece of you that drinks the Kool-Aid and doesn't become wrapped up and consumed in that world and consumed by yourself, in yourself. You know what I mean? And there was it was interesting, because when I look back at my 20s versus now, I felt like my 20s were my preparation for my 30s, because the funny thing is that all the people that I was working with and working for, I was getting the witness firsthand that they had everything. They had fame, they had adoring fans, they had tons of money, and they were so lonely and they were so unhappy because all of their value was based in that. They didn't yet know, they hadn't quite yet discovered that their value, if all those things were taken away from them, what would make them powerful? And we all have that thing inside of us. And so when we go out and we pursue, so many people I watch, they think, oh, once I have a good body, then I'm going to find the women. Once I have a good body, then I'll find the man of my dreams. I watch some of the most beautiful women on the planet repel men because they're unhealthy. They're unhealthy here because they don't love themselves. And if you don't love yourself, no one else is going to be capable of loving you either. And so I say all of this because my 20s, I felt like I spent, my entire career helping people. It was a blessing and a curse because I can help people lose weight in a week. That's what, in regards to the aesthetics of the body, I do believe that I'm the best in the world at helping people lose weight extremely quickly without water depletion, without any of that stuff. I'm so good. That's what built that's how I got these massive celebrity clients. And thank goodness for me that by the time I was 28, I was so bored helping people get ready for red carpets because it was meaningless. I'm like, if this is the biggest battle, if this is the biggest thing I'm gonna do, I feel I was grateful because it's what gave me my platform. But I was like, surely if all of my value is wrapped up in who I'm connected to, like, oh, I'm so-and-so's trainer, that's what still today gets my foot in the door. It was difficult for me to understand that my value was more than that. And so when I realized that I was no longer happy being that and traveling around with these people, because I was like, I wanted my life to be about more, every single thing in my life changed. I truly did have a spiritual awakening because I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm helping people lose this weight really fast, but why is it that they want me to literally like live at their house with them? Why do they want to be around me all the time? Why is it that their homies are telling me they're different? Like, they're different now that you're in their life. And it really did wake me up to the fact where I was like, oh my gosh, no, this exercise thing and this diet thing, that's the easy part. Anybody, and I mean anybody. I mean, I get inspired so much when I look at, I just saw one of my friends sent me a before and after of a mom that was like 220 pounds and she just won some major fitness competition. She's 50 years old. Like, if you are a person that has enough will, you can do that. The problem is that that doesn't make you happy. It doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. It's just an accomplishment, and it doesn't mean that you've unlocked your value, because now your value is in how you look. And so, when it comes to balance with your life, you have to spend as much. The thing that I try and encourage all my clients to do, because I go I have like a full immersion into the lives of the people that I work with, particularly if I'm traveling with them. I like to understand I want to know everything about them. I want to know all of their personal relationships, their business dealings, their past, their childhood, all of that, because it's just as important to address. See, the stuff that's on the surface, that's easy. That's so easy to address. That's just tweaking certain things. But when you're dealing with someone who uses food to self-sabotage, you can put them on a diet and you can put them on a treadmill and they're going to lose weight, but they're always going to revisit that vice. And that's where I think balance comes in, and each of us has to stay accountable to ourselves and not make exercise the answer, and not make weight loss the answer for something that's a much deeper issue. It's and it's one of the reasons why on my social media, it's interesting because when I do post photos of my body, they get a lot of likes, but it's one of the reasons why I don't do that all the time, because I'm very aware I don't want to fall into that trap. I don't want to fall into that trap that I watch that everybody else has fallen into, which is, okay, that's great. You've got ebooks that you're selling now and you're using your body to sell it, but then what? What happens when all that fades? And in meeting a lot of people in the industry, they're more tortured than most of the people that they're helping. and that's what's really sad, because they are now trapped. They're entrapped inside of an image of perfection that they've created. They actually walk themselves right into the prison cell and shut the door behind them. And that's why, so often on when we're on these live streams, I like to be really clear with you guys, like, listen, I'm only able to speak to this thing because I've been there. I'm not a perfect person. I've made so many mistakes, and, because of that, I'm never trapped. If I ever found myself in some sort of thing, it's like, I don't think people expect me to be perfect. I think they expect me to be exactly who I am on this live stream. And it's very flattering to me in the industry, because I have a lot of girls that who have built a career based on their booty shorts and their sports bras. When I meet them, they're like, I so wish I could admire what you've done, because you're like, basically, I'm allowed to go on camera wearing anything that I want, and people still buy things from me. They have to go on camera, and basically the only way that someone's going to buy something from them is if their body is a direct reflection of perfection. And I think that's part of balance, and I just encourage you guys with that, because one of the reasons that I'm able to be so free in my spirit, and I don't feel threatened by people, other women in the industry, like, literally, I look at people like Alexia Clark, for example. She's like my favorite chick in fitness. Like, she's got way more followers than me. Like, she's younger than me. She's just killing the game. I literally love her. Like, I would do anything. We've never met face to face, but I have sent her emails, like, anything I can do to help you, you let me know. And that's because I'm not threatened by the next generation or anyone that has more followers, because her value is not my value. My value is not her value. And because of that, and each of you have something about you that is unique to you, that is directly tied to your purpose. And having a healthy body and eating clean and honoring yourself is a part of that thing. That thing should not be shoved to the side. Health and diet and exercise should not be used as an alternative for you figuring out what that thing is about you that makes you valuable, that makes you unique. Having your health at an optimal level is just you honoring that gift. And when people start thinking about it that way, when I stopped thinking about the pressure of, oh my gosh, I need to keep my body looking a certain way 24/7. I need to do this. I need to do that. I have to be on camera. I need to look this way. I need to look that way. If I don't look this way, then people aren't going to want to, they're not going to love it. And especially once I started working, with bodybuilding.com, I remember that first time I ever did content with them, I didn't have any expectations of the content. I was just the celebrity trainer, that was like the behind the scenes guru for all these people. I didn't have any expectations of doing content with them, but when that content went crazy on their site, suddenly it was like, oh, there's a brand here. And with that came a lot of pressure. And and I say that because often you'll forget, especially with diet and exercise, which is why I think people get so baited into kind of all of these insane methodologies. Only someone who isn't honoring themselves can get baited into something that doesn't feel good. someone who is on who stands in front of the mirror, like, I'm going to tell you guys something really funny. Some of my friends have seen me do that. Like, if I'm having an off day or my body feels really bad, like if sometimes, you just feel lethargic, maybe I'm having some sort of pain, I will literally stand in front of the mirror and I'll be like, Ashley Conrad, you're a freaking world champion. And I'll do it in front of people, and my friends will laugh, and they'll be like, you are absolutely insane. But I will start literally speaking positivity over myself, honoring myself in that way, reminding myself. That's why I won't ever be baited into doing something, in regards to cutting something out or doing something like CrossFit where I'm watching people drop like flies go, and I'm like, that's not for me, because I'm trying to be able to kill the game until I'm 130. All right, I want to be like able to move around. I want people to look at me. My goal, you want to know my life goals? When I'm 80, I want people to I want their jaws to drop, not because I'm going to have so much freaking Botox and fillers. It's like, I'm going to look like a perfectly preserved mummy in the face. Like, it's going to be like my face is still going to look like this, but my skin is going to be the only indication that I'm older is just that the skin on my body will look old, right? No, but in all seriousness, it's when you honor yourself in that way, you won't have compulsions with food, and you won't want to do things like I did a whole thing about drinking. You won't want to waste time feeling hungover. The thought of that makes you upset. You won't want to wake up Saturday morning feeling bad, because you want to have your whole day on Saturday because you got things you want to do. You've got things outside of maybe your 9-to-5 job. You have other dreams and aspirations, and it's only when we are already, like, a lot of times when people already hate themselves, they're really self-loathing, that when they go into lose weight, that's also a self-loathing process for them. And so that's why I say it's like, you've got to start here. And as somebody who was fat, 180 pounds on my frame, it was like I had I looked like a chipmunk. It was like I had nuts in my cheeks. I would not, when I went home for the holidays, I wouldn't even leave my house because I was so embarrassed, because I did not want to, because in high school, I literally I looked like a professional athlete by the end of my senior year. And because I had been working my butt off for 4 years. And so I was so ashamed and scared that if anybody from high school saw me, I didn't want to, that person they're like, what happened to, I didn't want them to be like, what happened to Ashley Conrad? And so I think a lot of times when people go in to lose weight, they're coming from that standpoint, and therefore they don't approach their body with love, because it wasn't love that landed them. It's not from a loving place that we grow overweight, or that's not loving. Not exercising and eating things that aren't good for you is not self-love, it's self-loathing. And our bodies, going back to the balance, your body is designed for survival. When you put things in your body that are bad for you, that is an act of killing yourself slowly. You're actually, when your mind tells you to do something, even though sugar is addictive, even though all these things are addictive, right? That's a chemical reaction. But that's why it's so important to stay completely in control and in tune with your mind. Because when your mind tells you, now don't get me wrong, let me be really clear about something. Do you think there are not days that my mind goes, oh my gosh, yes, we're gonna go out and we're gonna go have a drink tonight because this has been a day. Those are the nights when I, because I do drink, but it's literally, especially over the course of the last year, it's about maybe once a month, like a couple of drinks, and my tolerance is so low. It's like sometimes after one drink, I'm like, whoa, I can't, I'm done. And so I say this because, my post the other day, there's a big difference between, on the days, it's like using anything to take away an emotion that's a substance, using alcohol, using food, that's when you shouldn't be doing that, because that can actually create a pattern and a habit, and that's not honoring yourself. If I actually feel stressed or I feel upset about something, the loving thing to do for myself is to not take myself out of that state. It's to work through whatever that is. And so what tends to happen is the wheels start to come off. I became 180 pounds because I ended up getting injured. My basketball career didn't end up the way that I wanted it to. A relationship, I went through a very bad breakup, and suddenly, instead of processing those things, I allowed myself to start eating all the things I wouldn't allow myself to eat my entire career. And when that happened, and when that dopamine release happened with, because food is it creates such a powerful chemical reaction. It temporarily, when I started eating all those things, it would temporarily take me out of that painful place. And it's not unlike all the live stream I did a little while ago, a couple weeks ago, about opiate addiction, and about how people are going in for routine dental surgeries, and they're suddenly addicted to opiates because they take that opiate, and for a moment in time, suddenly all the pain of their life disappears. And so it is a problem, and so many people are dealing with this problem. And so when I watch people then go to the gym and use exercise as the drug, exercise is so healthy for you, but you should never use it to run from the larger issue that needs to be confronted. Because then it's just a vice like everything else. Yes, it's a better vice, but like when I hear people say to me, like I know a couple people who, if they don't work out, they turn into monsters. Like if they go more than I'm upset. I haven't worked out today, so I'm like this. I have to get to the gym. If you're that person, that's an indication like you have some things in your life that you need to really look at. And I'm not saying that as a joke. Like if you feel that much anxiety in 24 hours because you haven't physically exhausted yourself, that's a problem, and that needs to be looked at. And so in any case, I won't continue on this any further, but balance is more than just what you're eating and what you're doing at the gym. It's about you tuning into every single part of your being and understanding where you're at, and understanding where your weaknesses are, where your vulnerabilities are, the areas in your life that you're operating in, where you're operating in a faulty way. I am such an in tune person with myself, but there are, like when I am dealing with something where I'm watching myself be dysfunctional in any area, the most frustrating thing is often I know what's happening, but I don't know how to fix it and how to stop myself from doing it. And that's why it's so important to be honest with yourself, and to not be delusional and to not run, because at least if you can seek advice from people who can help you. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. Like I can just be stuck in a certain mindset, or I can be stuck in a place of, I'm a total perfectionist. So sometimes that can really slow me down. If I'm caught in a loop, I can't take myself out of that loop until I first acknowledge that I'm caught in it. So yeah, that's balance. That's balance. And that's why it's important to take time, off of your social media, undistracted, not listening to, it's like we're so afraid to just sit quietly or go for a run without any sort of influence, and allow yourself to just think and tune in. And that is the most powerful, that's the biggest difference between my 30s and my 20s, and it has been an absolute game changer in every area of my life. And that's what I try and instill in every single one of my clients. And what I've tried to, a lot of my pivoting, even in my live streams, is I'm like, I decided at the top of 2017 that I was no longer going to come on live streams. It's not that it's not important, but talking about macros when our world is in the state that it's in, and talking about macros when people are literally medicated and sick and depressed, I'm sorry, there are bigger fish to fry. And so it's like tuning into those bigger things within yourself. When you do that, you will literally have victory in every area of your life, because you will realize, even with diet and exercise, the self-awareness of, I'm doing these things out of a dysfunctional place, and now I'm going to go in and fix them. Not because Ashley Conrad told me to, but because I don't want to be like this. I want to love myself, and I want to be a freaking world champion in my own life. I don't want to be over here feeling depleted and deprived in an attempt to lose 10 pounds. Nobody has time for that. So, wow, that was a lot more. It's one of those things, guys, where it's like someone sitting down in front of you and going, is there something in my eye, as their right arm has been chopped off and they're hemorrhaging blood? That's how I see so much of what the world is doing. And while we're also so obsessed with the way that we look because of social media, and that's why I'm trying to encourage you this way, because it's the reason that so many people are so unhappy, because you're treating something that needs 10 levels of stitches with a little butterfly band-aid. So in any case, hopefully that helps me. Let me go back and see if there's some other questions. This was supposed to be a question time, and I've addressed one. Okay, let's see. Yep, sounds like CrossFit. Yep. Now listen, everybody who does CrossFit, if that works for you and that has inspired you and it's made a healthy change in your life, that's great. I love that. I love the camaraderie and the community of CrossFit. I think it's amazing. I wish that there were stricter. I think if they actually were doing things according to what's actually good for your body, it would be literally so amazing, I wish I lived in LA. Yep. That's right. I randomly clicked on your live stream chat, and it's exactly what I needed. That's awesome. I love it. I love it when people direct message me that too, because I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I got on there. Please have a weekly podcast. That's a good idea. Yep. Your mind shows us your mind. If you guys have any questions, I would love to answer them for you without getting too deep into certain things. Let's see. I feel like I was just in church. Thank you. Keep doing what. That's an amazing compliment. What workouts are ideal for longevity? Body weight workouts are amazing for longevity, and workouts that and when I say body weight workouts, not necessarily like plyometrics and all of that, but one of the biggest things that people do without realizing is they'll go and they'll use machines when they can't even move their own body with proper form and function. And so, for example, like most often when somebody comes into me like session 1, and even when I have them do a lunge, they can't lunge properly because their hamstring is so underdeveloped, and their glutes and their piriformis is so tight that their knee is literally pulling their quad. And because all the machines at the gym are so quad dominant and they only work front to back, there's no lateral movement. When you have someone do a lunge, it basically immediately it shows me kind of like where the muscle imbalances are. And so for longevity, what's really important is that again, the body is in total balance, and your body you can move your own body. I was very, very fortunate. The man who actually like picked me off of a flag football field when I was in 5th grade and said, "You come here," as I was tackling boys. All boys game flag football, and I'm put in full contact tackle. It's like, "You play ball?" I'm like, what do you mean ball? Basketball? he said to me when I started training with him, when I was in when I went into like summer training in high school, we went to the weight room and I went to go pick something up. He's like, "Oh no, you're not touching a weight." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You have no business touching weights until you can do everything with your own body weight. If you can't do 100 push-ups, you shouldn't be on a bench press. If you can't do 100 body weight squats, you have no business on a squat rack." And that literally like set a precedent for not just my own career, but also I apply that to my clients now because it is absolutely true. Because when you can move your own body, weights should absolutely be in addition to. You should always start with your own body weight, because if you don't start with your own body, you being able to move your own body will lock yourself into biomechanically, it'll lock it into proper form and function. Usage of machines and even, weights and leg presses, it actually covers the imbalances in your body. And so a lot of times when I watch people even do body weight squats, their knees are pulled so far over their feet because their hip flexors are so tight, their quads are so overly developed that they can't hold their body back. They're like top heavy. And so, for longevity, that's why, when I do, I've trained people for every sort of thing that you can imagine, but, I've trained people, to have to pack on muscle to play action stars in movies and such. And my one-on-one training career, I've had every client under, like every goal under the sun. But when it comes to creating programs for like all of you guys, if I'm not going to be supervising you, doing them, I always go with body weight based stuff, because you know what? It always works. It is, if you're doing the movements properly, you're never going to have to worry about like injury like you do when people are lifting super, super heavy. You're not going to wear out your rotator cuffs. And your body's going to feel great. Everything's going to be moving, you're going to be able to move. When I look at like iconic figures in fitness, you look at somebody like Jack LaLanne, who was like towing tugboats behind him, swimming channels when he was like 85 years old. And you look at Joe Weider, who was the godfather of bodybuilding, and Joe Weider at 80, he couldn't even walk. And Jack LaLanne's over there like selling power juicers because he's still such a freaking machine. And Jack LaLanne was the calisthenics bodyweight god, and so those are sort of the footsteps that I've tried to follow in. And just, when you look at the two things side by side, you go, oh yeah, like, because one is putting so much wear and tear on the body that by the time you get up there in years, it's like your body doesn't have any cartilage left, and once cartilage is gone, you guys, it's gone. Hey, PS, so I have 2 minutes left on here, but I'm gonna click off and I'm gonna come right back on. And in the meantime, let me just see if I can take like a couple screenshots of these questions so you guys don't have to repost them. Hang on one second. Okay, there's one. Let's see. 2. I hate how it does this. Okay, so let's I'm gonna log off of here, and then everybody just log right back on, and we can get back to the questions because I've got a minute left. Okay.